Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Deep Thoughts. And today we are talking about Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, episode 12, I believe. Yes, I was right. It is episode 12, aka The Boar Bears Its Fangs, Zenitsu Sleeps. Just as an aside, if I sound vaguely sort of tired or scatterbrained, well, more so than usual, is because I am filming this directly the morning after my friend's wedding. Adam and Allie, my two friends, got married recently. The reception the wedding and the reception were amazing. It was an outdoor wedding. It was really fun, and it was great. So to you too, congrats. I'm so happy for you. But if I do sound, sleepy or scatterbrained, it's only because I spent a significant amount of time last night drinking with friends. Also, shout out to the new people that I met at the reception. You're all lovely. And fun fact for any of you watching, I actually recommended them Kimetsu no Yaiba because they asked me, what's a new anime that I can jump into? I was like, Kimetsu no Yaiba, jump right in. So, yeah, anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in to the episode that we're talking about. Oh, sick segue, bro! Okay, so we jump into the episode, and I gotta say, Yoshitsugu Matsuoka is really bringing it as the boar guy. Now, I'm used to him as Kirito, although he has been in other things as well. For example, he's Soma from Food Wars. Now, I don't want to knock him, because what he does well. He's always been, the sort of hero kind of character, and the cocky hero type, and he plays it really well. However, for Boar Guy, whose name I don't remember if they said, I don't believe they said, but the Boar dude, who I already love, is very different compared to his other roles, and I think he really nails it in terms of the apparent insanity that is within this character, because he is a very I don't know if I can really compare him to anybody off the top of my head, but he's a very zany, erratic character, going yeah, I like that, yeah. He's just kind of off the wall crazy, and it's in a really fun way. And his swords are so dope. That's another thing I gotta say. The swords that Boar Guy have these ridges on it that are meant to tear through flesh, as he describes, and it's ooh, that's intimidating. But he also can't seem to discern good from bad. He's just sort of attacking. He is in essence a wild boar. He's just sort of attacking with reckless abandon, not really paying attention to what is good, bad, doesn't matter. Just anybody who's in his way is going to get it. And I do think that Yoshitsugu Matsuoka really delivers that in his voice. It's probably one of my new favorite roles from him, and he's only been voicing it for 2 episodes so far. And it's just really impressive. So I had to give the man his kudos. It's really cool. We also get to see the effects as the room spins around and flips and does all these crazy tricks and stuff. And we do see that every hit on the Suzumi does something different. Tanjiro, in a scene later on that I am absolutely going to have to get to, Tanjiro basically sort of surmises so when he hits his left shoulder, the room spins left. When he hits the right, the room spins right. When he hits the Suzumi on his chest, there's these claws that show up. It's really he's the Suzumi demon is really neat. I said earlier, he's a neat looking design. But we also see that he's also got sort of a chip on his shoulder, because as it turns out, he is one of the demons of the moon, the 12 demons of whatever the hell. I don't remember what they're called. I literally just hear them as demons of the moon, but I don't remember if there's 12 or what, and he's one of the lower ones. But basically, this means that we get to see Muzan again, and as soon as I saw him, I'm like, Michael Jackson, every time he shows up. But yeah, Muzan is in this episode very briefly in a flashback with the Suzumi demon. I almost called him the Tamari demon, Rip Tamari demon, and soon to be Rip Suzumi demon, because that's just gonna happen after that hero speech from Tanjiro. But again, I will get to that scene in a little bit. I do have to question if the other 2 demons that we see in this episode, who are axed off just as quickly as they appear, if they are also meant to be demons of the 12 moons or whatever the heck, because we know for sure that the Suzumi demon is, because he's given Muzan's blood and yada yada. I don't imagine they were, only because they were taken out, I don't want to say easy, because it took some impressive like breathing skills on both Borgai and Zenitsu's part, and we're gonna get to Zenitsu as well. But I don't believe they were, only because they were taken out relatively quickly. But maybe they were, I don't know, because they both used some pretty impressive breathing techniques to take the two out, but I don't know. I also have to question, is this like some sort of demon hideout, or is it just sort of by pure luck, like I don't want to say luck, by pure bad luck, 3 demons are just sort of hanging out in the same house? I'm not super sure what that would mean, but I don't know, it's interesting. I'm actually gonna finish up my thoughts on Borgai right now, just by saying that we do see him have this fight with this heavier set demon, and he in that moment you hear him say self-taught beast breathing something or other. I don't remember what the move itself was called, but he's self-taught. Which, I mean, like, when he said that, I was like, whoa, that's neat. But then I thought about it, I'm like, well, of course he was. I don't imagine he would have a sensei of any kind. But that is interesting. So he is using similar techniques to the Demon Slayers, but he also kind of calls the Demon Slayers out. He's like, oh, you think you're friggin', like, you good boys with your lame swords, like, essentially says that. He doesn't say that word for word, although I kind of wish he did. But it is interesting to me that he isn't a Demon Slayer, apparently, but still uses breathing techniques like our boys Zenitsu and Tanjiro, so I thought that was worth pointing out. And that's pretty much all we see of Borgai. I wish we saw more. I'd like to know his name so I can stop referring to him as Borgai, but I'm nervous to look up anything on Kimetsu no Yaiba for fear of spoilers. So, yeah. And now I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the scarediest scared boy in all the land who does his best. It's Zenitsu. And I have to say Zenitsu's contribution to this episode is impressive, mostly because most coward characters that we see in fiction typically are self-centered, and they're only thinking about themselves, and then like maybe at like the 11th hour they change their mind, they pull a Han Solo and come back to help the rebellion. In this case, that's not quite Zenitsu's character. Zenitsu is absolutely positively a 100% coward. He is absolutely afraid of everything, afraid of his own shadow, afraid of people talking to him suddenly because it freaks him out because he's not sure. And I mean, hey, in that situation, I'd probably be Zenitsu too. I would be scared out of my mind. But what I appreciate is that and it is part of the reason why I'm starting to see why Zenitsu became a Demon Slayer. And it's because he's not, like, while he is 100%, yes, he is a coward, he's not selfish about it. His main priority the entire time, like when we hear his inner monologue, is protecting the kid. That's still his priority. He even says, like, he has the line of like, oh man, now all of my fear is like located directly in my knees. I can't move. You have to go. So it's not, please help me. Oh my God, I'm going to die. It's, you need to go. I'm too scared to move, so I'm going to die. But you don't have to die. You go. And he even says, I wish I could protect this kid, but I just can't move. And he gets so scared he actually passes out. Straight up falls asleep. But when he falls asleep, something interesting happens, because we hear this like triumphant track start to play. And it has this like sort of like really cool like backing flute that plays in the background. And I have to question if this is Zenitsu's theme, because I don't believe I heard that song previously. Maybe I have, because I don't remember hearing it, and it just seemed to be very fitting for Zenitsu's character. This sort of like it hits with like this like thunderous like sound, and then sort of like the flute comes in and it has this sort of like, it starts off like sort of, it doesn't start off like any of the other tracks in the show, and then it has that sort of like heroic, I don't want to say swashbuckling, but like this sort of like heroic like badass song that plays like the rest of the tracks in the show. So I almost wonder if that's meant to sort of mirror Zenitsu, like a coward, and he's different from the other demon slayers until this certain moment happens, and then he's just as badass as the rest. And that moment is, well, you guys have heard of the Drunken Fist, right? Master of the Legend of the Drunken Fist. Well, allow me to introduce you to Legend of the Sleeping Sword. That scene is so friggin' dope. And I love the fact that he's asleep the entire time. Zenitsu even like wakes back up and he's like, oh my god, did you do this? That was awesome. Why didn't you tell me you're so strong? And meanwhile, like the kid's like, holy crap, Zenitsu's a badass. Even though he's kind of not aware that he's a badass and still kind of dopey, but like still a badass. A couple things to quickly address before I talk about the final thing I want to talk about in this episode is the first, we get to see the crow again. Yay. I love the crow. I don't know why. I just think he's hilarious. And the second is we actually get to see Orokodake very briefly in a sort of like mental, like just Tanjiro thinking about him. So it's like a mental Orokodake, not real. But he shows up basically to give this a pseudo version of the Bruce Lee speech. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
If you don't know, Bruce Lee means an awful lot to me, and so does that speech. And the fact that it is like referenced here, even though I don't know if it was a direct reference, I feel like Kimetsu no Yaiba has a lot of like, if you're aware of said reference, you're like, oh, that's a clear reference. But if not, it doesn't affect anything. Like Muzan, I don't care what anyone says. That is very clearly a reference to Michael Jackson for some reason. And this scene here, like that Orokodake speech, very clearly, and the fact that it is like the whole show is based around, like not based around, but the whole Tanjiro and Orokodake's entire breathing technique is based around water. I knew at some point, like, we're probably gonna get a Bruce Lee speech. And it wasn't word for word, but damn, it was close, and it was really freaking cool to hear. The last thing I want to talk about is that spinning room, both in the beginning of the episode and the end. In particular, the end may have been one of the most wild scenes from this season. This spring season, say what you will about it being sort of lax and not as hype as other seasons, but my god. The room spinning around, Tanjiro giving the big hero speech and like trying to calm himself down and fight through the pain while the room spins around, and the music and the way the characters move with like the background, you can hardly tell that it's like, because very clearly the background has to be CG, like it just has to be. But the way the characters bounce and move around, or not even the characters, just Tanjiro, just bounces, moves around in this scene. I can't begin to explain how cool it looks in motion. The screenshot will not do it justice. You have to see that scene in motion. And it is one of the most wild, not even really a fight, just one of the most wild animation moments. One of the, I don't want to say Sakuga, I guess it could be considered Sakuga. It's just one of the most wild moments from this spring season. From a series that has nothing but wild moments. And it's just, I don't know, it was really freaking impressive. I had to point that out specifically. However, everybody, those are going to be just about all of my thoughts on Kimetsu no Yaiba, episode 12, I believe. And I gotta say, this episode was a solid A. This episode gets a solid A grade from me. It was really freaking impressive. With that said, if you enjoyed today's video and you feel like helping us out, then by all means sharing this video around on the internet and hitting that like button, well, that would be super rad of you. And if you would like to stick around and check out more from me, then by all means go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join the good ones. And before we go, as always, I have to give a big shout out to the good folks over on Patreon, namely those in the Earl Grey tier: Dominic, Urza, No For Nothing, Maria Teresa, Omner Garamond, Opinionated Slime, Shadow Creative, Sipco Games, Tristan, and Veridin. Thank you all so much for your continued support. If you too would like to help support this channel, then by all means, please consider checking out the link to our Patreon. It's in the description. Check it out, maybe help us out. It would be really appreciated if you did. And with all that said, everybody, until our next meeting, you stay rad and don't scary.